We continue on today's main topic, that is May the 1st and the demonstrations that are being held everywhere around the world, but particularly in Cuba, that's been an epicenter of this demonstration for years, for decades, and today was no exception. We are actually joined live right now by Kotsai Sigauke from the Revolutionary Communist Group. He's member of the Solidarity Brigades that have come here to join Cubans in their demonstration, in their celebration of May the 1st, Workers' Day. Hello, Kotsai. Thank you for joining us here from the South. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Kotsai, can you please tell us, first of all, your impressions? How was the demonstration today? We've seen a massive march walk through the Revolution Square in Havana. You have come a very long way from Britain to this place. So tell us your impressions. What did it mean for you to be here today?
Well, I would say that it was very inspiring to see people, revolutionary people, celebrate the gains of their revolution. And it was also inspiring because they weren't only celebrating the gains of their revolution, but they were also defending the gains of those revolution, because Cuba has been under increasing attack by US imperialism, with the tightening of the blockade, with putting Cuba back on the state sponsors of terrorism list. And to see these masses of people come out and say that we're a socialist nation, we're a socialist country, and we are going to defend socialism and the gains of our revolution was just so inspiring to see. I've never seen a May Day like that before. In Britain, May Days are very, very small. In fact, funnily enough, a lot of people are actually working on May Days. So to see the masses of Cubans come out and celebrate and defend the gains of their revolution was inspiring to see. And if anything, it makes me want to fight for socialism in my country and around the world even more.
Of course, what you're speaking to, right? This idea that Cuba has been and continues to be a beacon of hope in terms of the possibility of building a socialist state continues across the world, and specifically this day is particularly a day in which this happens, and it's shown in the street. So you were talking about your country, and I would like to ask you particularly about that, because we know that this day, besides the celebration of the conquest, is also a day to continue the struggle, particularly in those countries around the world where the working class is suffering, and in this context, it's suffering a lot. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience in Britain? How is the situation for the working class there, and what are the main demands that they are carrying?
Well, the situation for the working class in Britain, especially for the most oppressed sections of the working class, think migrant workers, black and Asian youths, transgender people, the situation has been very bleak. In Britain, about 20%, over 20% of the population in Britain is living in poverty. A third of children in Britain also live in poverty, and this is one of the richest countries in the world, and still that many people are living in poverty. The rights of the working class are also under attack constantly. Recently, the imperialist Labour government has announced cuts to benefits, especially for disabled people. Some of the most vulnerable sections of the working class are now going to see their benefits cut. They're going to be harassed by the Department of Work and Pensions and forced into low-paying jobs that they might not necessarily be able to do. So we're now getting into a situation where even if you're disabled in Britain, it is now work or starve. We're also seeing the political rights of the working class come under attack, because capitalism is under crisis, and now with this government trying to manage the economic and political crisis of British capitalism, it is attacking our right to protest. It is putting more racist police on the streets. It is also attacking the rights of transgender people. with this Supreme Court ruling that came out recently. And we're also seeing that people, especially supporters of Palestine and the just cause of the Palestinian people, being arrested, being thrown into prison and being charged. People not just from our organization, but nearly anybody who's showing solidarity with Palestine in any sort of radical way. So those are the conditions of the working class in Britain right now. And I would say that, you know, the demands of the working class in Britain are the demands of the working class anywhere, really, you know. Affordable housing, free housing even, education, healthcare, which is also under attack, benefits. These are things that are slowly being stripped away from the working class in Britain. So that is what I would say to that.
And if anything, today is the day in which workers around the world come together to really say that these struggles that you were mentioning in Britain, for example, and of course around the world, and particularly in the global south, even though we see it not only in the global south, they are really overcome with the international struggle by workers coming together across nations. And internationalism is very important for Cuba's celebration. You are a member of the brigades that have come here to join the demonstrations of May 1st. So I would like to end our interview by asking you, what role do you think that internationalism plays in this struggle? Why come so far away here to Havana to take part in this demonstration?
Well, because Cuba is a shining example of socialism. It was a colony of Spain for so long, colonized by Spain. And then it became a neo-colony of the US and was under a dictatorship. The Cuban people eventually rose up and they were committed to fighting imperialism and fighting underdevelopment. And they realized that socialism was the way to do that. Despite the fact that socialism collapsed around the world, especially in Eastern Europe, the Cuban people have continued to resist imperialism and they have continued to defend socialism. And that is an example for struggles that we see all around the world. You know, the Cuban people have always shown solidarity with the Palestinian people. The Cuban people have always shown solidarity with black people in Africa fighting against white supremacy and imperialism in Africa, in Angola, in South Africa. So Cuba's internationalism, it's the fact that it takes the slogan, workers and oppressed people of all countries unite. That is an example that I wanted to see in practice in real time. And it's something that I really am excited to take back to Britain and continue to build any sort of revolutionary movement that I can there.
And it's really so important to have this brigade here. Thank you so much. That was Kotsai Sigauke, member of the Revolutionary Communist Group from Britain. Thank you for being here. And also member of the Solidarity Brigades.